Coming up next on Public Access TV is Fan to Fan, the Book Game, an interview show where we talk books with people who make them. Today our subject is senior softball. I'm your host, Dave Hornfischer. Today I'm pleased to welcome two leaders of the Eastern Mass Senior Softball League, better known as Emass. Rob Mitchell, a former commissioner and the author of Bat Attitude, a season-long epic about a championship team. And he's joined along with Emass League current commissioner Steve Bober to talk about the upcoming 2024 season. Stay tuned. This may run fast and swing hard. Welcome to Fan, the Book Game, a show whose purpose is to promote area authors and those who help bring their books to life. Today my guests are Rob Mitchell, the author of Bat Attitude, a season-long epic about a surprising senior softball championship team, along with Steve Bober, the commissioner of the Eastern Mass Senior Softball League. The existence of that league made possible this dream season for Rob's team and the impetus for his book. As a player myself, I'm especially pleased to welcome them to share the Emass story with our viewers in the hope that some of you might be inspired to check the league out. Registration's coming up soon, so be ready for it. Welcome, guys. It's great to see you, and great to see two of my softball colleagues here. I always, I do this show, and sometimes I have shows I know absolutely nothing about, and when I have a show that I'm involved in, that's both a problem and a blessing, because but in any case, welcome. But Rob, you put together this incredible book about about a magical season that you had. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that all came to happen and how the book evolved?
Okay, first, thanks for having us on the show, Dave. Emass Senior Softball has a motto, and the motto is community, sportsmanship, competition, in that order, community first. While I didn't plan it this way, the book, Bad Attitude, actually followed that arc of community, sportsmanship, competition, in that order. I started out wanting to write a story about a senior softball team. You could consider it a micro community within the larger community of Emass Senior Softball. I would write about the individual personalities on the team, the 15 players, how they interacted, how they blended together as teammates. I should note that a very attractive feature of Emass for me, and I think just about everybody who's in the league, is that the teams change every year. You're not on the same team year after year after year. They're reshuffled, so you have new teammates. That means there's no perennial juggernaut, no perennial doormat. And we meet new people every year. So when I started out planning to do this, and I planned it out before the season started, I did not know who would be on my team. And as is the case with every team in Emass, everyone's experience, when you get there in the spring and meet your new teammates, there are probably 4 or 5 who are good friends from the past. They've been former teammates. Another 4 or 5 who you know a little bit, but not all that well, and then a few guys that you're meeting for the first time, or you didn't know them at all. And that turns out to be a very appealing thing. It was a little bit challenging for me because then I had to learn about all these people's backgrounds, because I wanted to write about who they were in the past and who they are today, and write about their personalities. And we had quite an intriguing group of people on that team, on that Bad Attitude team. We had 2 retired firefighters on the team. We had one teammate who was a nurse in his earlier life. He was in fact the first pediatrician nurse in the Metro West area. We also had a musician on the team who was the oldest player on the team. He was in his 80s. And back in the day, he was a session musician for people like the Everly Brothers. And they ranged in age from 56 was the youngest player on the team. The musician himself was 82 at the time. Happily, he is still playing in the league. I think he's 86 years old now. And he also still plays guitar in a 50s era rock and roll band.
The Rocking Chairs.
Called the Rocking Chairs. And I have to say that while that was an intriguing group of teammates, that's so of just about every team in Emass. I think there are close to 40 teams at this point. I think you could pull out any group of 15 and find the same interesting mix of people. While we were an interesting mix of people, unfortunately, we were an awful softball team at the start.
I was going to ask you how the season evolved.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first half of the season, our record was 3-11. We won 3 games, lost 11 games. And the low point of those 11 losses was a 19-0 slaughter. There's a mercy rule in Emass that after 5 innings, if a team is ahead by 12 runs or more, the game is over. So that 19-0 slaughter happened over 5 innings. They scored 19 runs against us. And I have to say, I don't remember such things, but to write the book, I asked the managers of the team if I could have the scorebook, and I did. And I looked at that game, and in those 5 innings, our team mustered a grand total of 4 hits.
That happens a lot.
And that's hard to do in slow pitch softball to have
and then the next game you get 20.
Only 4 hits. Needless to say, that start of the season, while it was a fine community, there were some negative vibes now and then. There had to be with that disaster of a team. Sportsmanship came into play, and I have to say we were good sports about it, as best as you could be.
And then the final game of the playoffs. You got to the playoffs at the end of the year,
and we improved thanks to some league adjustments who took away a couple of players, added a couple of players. The team chemistry was great. We improved over the second half of the season. I thought we were better than our record showed. We had good team chemistry. And spoiler alert, of course, we surprised everybody by winning the playoff championship over a course. We had to win 4 series to win that. And that was the competitive part. And I have to say that it was as much of an exhilarating thrill winning that championship in senior softball as anything could be. And that's not to elevate the competition above community.
I was about to say that, when you say that and playing and knowing you guys when I've seen this, I'm not sure I put competition in a distant third. It's very close.
What I think is at the time when you're in that situation in a very competitive game in the middle of the season or the playoffs, competition does rise.
That's what makes it fun.
To the top. But during the course of the season, we had a very...
At the end of every game, people shake hands.
Yes. Yes, at the end of every game, the teams go through 2 lines, complimenting the other on what a fine game they had. That was kind of difficult in the 19-0 game to go through. I think I would have rather climbed in my car and driven away at that point. But we managed.
Steve, is this a story that you've seen repeat? You've been in the league a long time now too. Both you guys have, haven't you?
It repeats regularly. I was thinking about this before, that in the last 8 years in the Pacific Division, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, this past season was the second time, I think, that the first place team won the championship. In most years, there are surprises in the playoffs. And to get back to that competition element, of course, we play sports because we're competitive. It's just, that's who we are. But I think it's fair to say that we leave it out on the field. Rob mentioned how teams get mixed up every year so that you're playing with different people. Well, the reality is that, the guy that hit that game-winning hit against you last year could be your teammate this year, and he's going to be your friend because it is community first.
And you're never going to let him hear the end of it either. And that's what, and it's that kind of shared, it's the stories that really blend it after you've been in it a while. And
I am retired. My kids are grown and gone. My opportunity to meet people and make new friends is very, very limited. I have made so many friends through Emass. Yes, we meet and play out on the field, but you know, there's a lot going on after that as well, and we do a lot of things as a community to build those friendships. We have an annual event at Polar Park where Emass guys go to. It's Manager Appreciation Night, so we have a chance to celebrate our managers and give them some thanks, but we go as a community. There are lots of things like that in our program.
So then, why don't you go back to the beginning a little bit? The league's what, over 25 years
I
old
believe
now,
this is our 30th year.
Yeah.
I don't have enough
close,
fingers
I
to
know.
do the math, but I think we started in 1995, making this our
Yes.
30th year.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we all got 25-year shirts.
Right, we're not getting 30th years. When I joined the league, there were 5 divisions. We have grown to, no, there were 4 divisions. We've grown to 6. Last year we had about 480 people in our program, and
We've got a chart here with some of with a little map that shows where everybody comes from.
my sense is that we're going to be well over 500 this year in 6 divisions with over 40 teams. Yeah, that's a pretty cool map. Thank you, Walker Royce, former commissioner and currently our webmaster, put together this little drawing of where our people come from. But in reality, we come from all over eastern Massachusetts and a couple from New Hampshire. This map doesn't show the guys who live on the Cape, and there are a couple who live in northeastern Connecticut. So yeah, we're spread out all over the place. The only requirements are that you have reached the age of 50 and that you have an interest in and some occasionally limited ability to play softball.
I think we're going to have a couple of guys who hit 90 this year. We've had a few in the past. Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I know we have more than a few in their 80s.
Yes.
And I think I remember that there's a couple who were 89 last year.
Yeah. And then so you mentioned the 6 divisions. Why don't you just walk through a little bit here, because I think people often wonder, you know, am I going to be playing with guys that aren't any good or guys that are too good? And
Well, for starters, let's just say that
or people, because we do have a few women.
yes, when someone wants to join Emass, there are 2 decisions that you get to make. One of them is what day of the week do you want to play, and the other is what level would you like to try. There are two divisions that play on Saturdays only, and this is Saturday morning doubleheaders starting at 9 o'clock, usually over by noon. And there's a higher level division, the Colonial Division, where the average age is about 60. Most of the higher skilled people who come into the program and want to play on Saturdays are going to play in the Colonial Division. The National Division has a much broader range of skills. Again, they play Saturday mornings. According to that chart, the average age is about 71. Weekday divisions, there are 4 of them, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And again, the highest level, the most, I guess I have to use the word competitive, the highest level skill would be the Tuesday Pacific Division. The Thursday Atlantic Division would be second. They would be like our B+ division. Monday Minuteman would be the B- division. And then Wednesday Metro is for guys who have, that's the only division where you have to have reached the age of 65. The Metro division is a fabulous opportunity for guys who, you know, can't race down a long fly ball or hit a screaming line drive over a 300-foot fence, but still want to play this game because they love it. That's the thing. What unites us, all 500 of us, is that we all recognize how lucky we are to be able to play this game that we love at the age that we have reached. And it's really that simple. It's fun.
And some people play in more than one division.
That is true.
Some play in 3 even.
You are allowed to register for as many divisions as you want to play in. I don't know how people do it, but there are people who play 4 days a week. And in order to do that, you have to be 65 because that's the 4th day.
3 anyway, for sure. So why don't you just talk a little bit like where does this happen and some of the other special features of the league and how the teams are set up and the defenses and all that. And maybe both of you can chime in on this.
Most of our games are in Wayland or Medfield these days. We have the Saturday program plays in Framingham as well. We're hoping to be able to use more fields in Framingham this year. I've been meeting with Framingham people, and we're looking forward to expanding our presence on Framingham fields. We've also, we have some fields that we can use in Ashland, in Marlborough, this area essentially. The rules that we use are, we basically play softball, but we add in a few features, one to accommodate for safety and the other to accommodate for, let's call it limited mobility. For example, we play with 11 fielders. Most of the divisions, that 11th fielder will play in the middle of the infield. In some cases, that 11th fielder can move around in the outfield as well. The safety features, in most of our divisions, actually I should be more specific, in all of the divisions except for the A-League during the week, which is the Tuesday Pacific, and the A-League on Saturday, which is the Colonial, in all of the other divisions we use a pitching screen. So the pitcher, who's only 45 or 50 feet away from these big hitters, is protected.
I think you'd need the screen more in the upper divisions.
Well, but also, counter that with the pitchers are younger and more agile.
No, I
and
understand.
the reflexes are better. So we use a pitching screen. We use a safety base at first base, so there are no collisions going down the first base line. As a batter, if you run to the wrong base, you're out. We use a safety base at home. There are no collisions at home plate. There are, occasional tag plays at second and third, but those are limited as well.
What are some of the features of this that you like, Rob?
Well, I like the safety feature about the extra first base and the extra home plate. They're separate from the other bases, so they don't.
Right.
There are no collisions. As an infielder, I find that there's very little danger in playing an infield position. I suppose in some of the younger divisions, if you're third baseman, the balls come at you pretty fast, but most of the third basemen in those divisions are perfectly capable. I just wanted to mention too, if there's somebody new who still is not clear as to what division they belong in or would be most comfortable in, chances are they might be comfortable in 2 or 3 different divisions, but if there's really one, there is a day, we call it a showcase.
The new player showcase.
Going to talk about that, where players can be steered towards the division that's most appropriate for them. And if they happen to choose the wrong division and they're either too good or not good enough for the division, there's opportunity early in the season for they themselves or their manager or other players to figure it out and move them to another.
And the league puts the teams together in each division in a way that balances.
Yes.
And adjusts it even sometime in mid-year. Right?
And sometimes a player may choose the wrong division in his mind, and that may be because he wants to play shortstop and bat third or fourth in the lineup, and well, really he should be playing second base and batting 10th, and he may not want to do that. So he may then change divisions, but he would still be perfectly comfortable in that other division.
The players get to choose what day of the week and what division. There are some occasional exceptions, as Rob suggested. If there's a safety concern for somebody who wants to play in that higher level division, we might counsel them to consider shifting. The new player showcase is a very important element. Anyone who joins Emass is invited to come to this event. This year it's going to be held on April 6th in Westford at a facility called Millworks. And during that time, we get a chance to, throw the ball around, hit the ball a little bit, and the division coordinators and the managers observe, and that helps us with what I consider to be the single most important task that coordinators have, which is to create competitively balanced rosters. You have enough guys who can play the infield, enough guys who can play the outfield, enough hitters, and every team has an equal distribution of talent. At least 2 pitchers, hopefully, yeah.
And so, well, so the registration's coming up. And if we've got some people out there who are interested, let's talk a little bit about how do you get involved?
Well,
We have a website, I think.
yeah, starting on February 21st, I think that's 2 weeks from today, is that right? Yeah, 2 weeks from today, you go to the Emass website, which I hope is going to be up on the screen. There we go, e-mass.org. And on that website, you will find clearly marked a click on registration, and it will guide you through. You have to enter your name, rank, and serial number, and that will immediately come through to us as coordinators and commissioner, and we will pick up the ball from there and communicate with you as far as all the things that are happening and all the things that are expected. February 21st, registration will close towards the end of March, mid-March, at which time we begin the process of forming rosters.
And it sometimes goes on beyond that even.
Well, new players can sign up
Right.
whenever they want. I mean, we'd like, if you sign up by the middle of March, we will get you on a roster and we'll put you in the right place. If you sign up in the middle of May, we may need to wait a little bit to figure out which team you belong on or which team needs you. But yeah, we will take new
There's
people
an associate
anytime.
membership too, isn't there?
The associate membership is for those who would like to, we call them pool players. Every week there's a team that is short a couple of guys and they need somebody who can play first base. And we look at the list of potential pool players and try to plug in those holes. Yes.
The associate membership is also good for someone like yourself who has an injury or winter surgery and they're not ready to go on opening day. You sign up as an associate member, and then when you
And there's pickup games for these people often on
yes,
Fridays.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's go back to you, Rob, and your book. Where do I get this book? Do I have to sign up for Emass to get it? Is it given to everybody?
No. It's available on Amazon.
Right.
It was a book that I self-published. By self-publishment, it meant I signed a contract with Amazon, and they actually did the
I just realized I missed one of the more important parts of our presentation here. We actually have some video of some game action here, and we wouldn't want that to go by. One part is of an actual play, and then there's several shots of energetic guys swinging at the ball and racing around the bases. I think you get the best idea of this by this short bunch of video.
It's real softball. It's not, it's real softball.
There we go. This is I think this is the Whalen Field.
Watch this throw.
Yeah, that was it. Jackie Bradley.
Not quite, but yeah.
Okay, here we go with
Ooh,
line drives.
those are some good.
Everybody doesn't swing like this.
No.
There's an example of one. Force at second.
I think what you're seeing here is the
Here's the
diversity.
two bases first.
You see the home plate safety.
Well, there's the differences of the divisions probably.
You got it.
Sliding is allowed sometimes, isn't it?
It's discouraged, but if it, I personally will choose to slide to avoid a collision. If there's a close play at second base, I want to slide so that I don't hurt myself
Right.
or the fielder. But yeah, for the most part, there's very little sliding.
And the teams all have uniforms.
Yeah.
I see we've got blue ones and gray ones now. We used to have red ones, which I like better, but
Sorry. Board decision.
being a Red Sox fan,
Yeah.
the gray ones make me feel very old. But okay, so we talked about so we interjected that, and we've got so we're finishing about your book. It's on Amazon, and
Yes,
And,
it's as it showed. It's a paperback book. It's $16, and Amazon will deliver it to your doorstep within minutes.
yeah, I thought we had
Quick,
another
fun
video of
read.
that.
I loved reading that book.
Yeah,
It's a book that has, of course, inevitably has some play-by-play action on the field, but it's more off of the field.
where did you get the title? I didn't ask about that.
That was the name of the team. The name
Oh,
of the team
okay. Oh, all
was,
right.
was Bat.
The
Bat-
team names are all
Bat-
creative.
Teams are
Attitude.
fun.
And they're all
Team names are
clean,
really fun.
socially acceptable.
And
No,
Borderline.
mostly. Yeah. Okay. So there's you mentioned before, Rob, some of the special things, the trip to Polar Park. We've got this great connection with with Cuba, which
Right.
is kind of unique. That
There is a growing number of Emass players who make a pilgrimage to Cuba every year. And in fact, this year I think they did 3 trips
Maybe.
think-
about 15 or 20 at a time.
at a time, and they go down to Cuba, they play a whole bunch of softball, they eat a whole bunch of food, they meet a whole bunch of people, and they come back raving about it, and when can I go again?
Yeah, I did it once. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Cuba on the very first trip in 2009. I think there were 4 teams that went and played, 4 teams from Cuba.
We had some years when the Cubans came here even, and
Yes.
I had a couple stay at my house even. It was quite an experience with my limited Spanish. But I had this guy, supposedly it was the Mickey Mantle of Cuba in his day. He was 79 or so, 80 now, but he still was pretty spry. And then we have the banquet. We have the Cape Cod tournament, right?
Not an Emass thing, but a lot of Emass players, through their association with Emass, get to join on to tournament teams that go down to the Cape, all levels. And the Cape tournament is a fabulous experience. It's the weekend after Labor Day, so the Cape is calmed down, and it doesn't take you an hour to get across the bridge. Yeah, we play softball for 3 or 4 days and have a blast.
And we have this annual banquet. We had Rich Gedman, I know, a couple of years ago. We had a sports
Dan
writer.
Shaughnessy. We get sports writers or sports figures to be keynote speakers. But the banquet is mostly about our community. It's a chance to come together. It's a brunch, basically, and hang out with your buddies and reminisce about all of the plays that you remember from the season. There are, we honor our winners, our champions, and yeah.
I think one of the most important awards, maybe the most important award representing Emass, the culture of Emass, given in each division, is the Heart, Hustle, and Attitude Award. That's given to one player in each division after each team has nominated a player from their team who represents probably the best that there is in Emass senior softball. And they're not the best player. They might be the best player, but more often than not, there's somebody else. And
some of the guys play through the winter too. In Marlboro, there's an indoor facility, and there's batting practice facilities a few places. I've done some of that, I know.
Again, not
not
Emass
officially,
sponsored,
but-
not Emass
right.
official, but
But it's put
because
together
we
by
are
Emass players. Yeah.
a community of softball players, we want to keep hitting.
Which is part of that community you talked about.
Yeah.
Well, as I told you, the 28 minutes have flown by as usual. I guess the final message is we'll put the registration logo up on the screen here, so if anybody can see it one more time, and we'll put it in the post as well. But come back and watch us on Fan to Fan. We do a sports show and a book game show, and this was kind of both today. We got both sports and books into this book game special. And we're on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 8:30 in Framingham, plus 7:30 Saturday mornings. And we're posted on YouTube. If you look up Fan to Fan Hornfischer, you will find almost all of our shows are there, and AFTV even puts them on their internet site. So there's lots of ways to catch up with this, and there's even lots more ways for you all to catch up with Emass softball. So if you've always thought this is something you want to do, I can speak for this personally myself. My life changed at 70 when I was a rookie. So and these guys did a wonderful job. So Steve, Rob, thank you so much for your book and for the time that both you guys put in as commissioners. This is that's not an easy job, and thank you very much for both of that. And thanks to all of you for watching. Good night.
Thank you.